We are live.
Our pilot has arrived tonight. Our Finance and Personnel Committee meeting, March 10th. We will have the call to order here.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Alder Horton,
Here.
Alder Sebastian. Here. Alder Davis. Alder Land. Here. Alder McCarthy.
Yes.
That completes roll call.
All right. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the February 24th, 25 meeting.
I would make the motion to approve.
Second. It's been moved and properly second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, we're gonna have a change. We're gonna have a few changes here tonight, change in the agenda. If you don't want some people to stay longer than they have to, and get out and enjoy the weather. So we're gonna start off tonight with the health department, and then after the health department, we'll do park and rec, and then we'll have the presentation from our RPA.
Perfect.
Item number 0226-25 on page 2 of the agenda, communications sponsored by Alder Horton. On behalf of the Public Health Department, requesting permission to enter into an agreement and accept funding of $227,357 from Wisconsin Department of Health Services for GIS supplemental agreement. Staff recommendation that the Public Health Department be authorized to enter into said agreement. Fiscal note, no city match required. Deputy Public Health Administrator Fergus is here to speak on the item.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you for letting me jump up in front. I appreciate it. So this is a grant that would award us funding to be able to, it's similar to our partner services grant. This is a syphilis case management and partner services for Racine County, excuse me. Syphilis is a type of infection through bacteria, caused by bacteria that is spread through sexual contact. If it's left untreated, it can lead to serious health problems over time, affecting the heart and other organs. So the good news is that it is treatable with antibiotics. And so the Public Health Department will be able, with this funding, not only to offer counseling, testing, and treatment for individuals who test positive through our clinic, but also do case management throughout the county. Providers have to, they are mandatory reporters to report syphilis to the health department. And at this time, the state and Milwaukee County has been covering Racine. They did some restructuring at the state and now have asked us to take it over.
Discussion, any questions? Alderman.
Why didn't go to the county health department? What's the city health department? What do you need to do that?
I can't answer that.
Thank you. I believe the city, the county doesn't do STD screening. That's what their director told me. Thank you.
They do. So we have the clinic and we also do HIV case management. We've been doing that for decades. We have been doing that for Racine County.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Any further discussion? We're entertaining motion.
I would make the motion to approve.
Motion by the chair, second by Alder Land. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Vice Chair.
Vice Chair.
Yeah, Vice Chair.
Item number 0202-25, communications sponsored by Alder Land on behalf of the Park Recreation and Cultural Services Director, requesting permission to create a new part-time LTE to implement the outreach education component of DNR IRA Urban Forestry Grant Control Number 00560 that was awarded to Parks Recreation and Cultural Services Department in 2024. Staff recommendation is that the communications sponsored by Alder Land requesting permission to create a new part-time position be approved. Fiscal note, there is no city budgetary impact. The position will be funded by the DNR IRA Urban Forestry Grant Control Number 00560. Forestry Director Kopnick is here to speak on the item.
Evening, everyone. So as indicated, this is the 2024 grant that we received from the DNR. There is a component where we're partnering with UW Extension to provide some educational outreach to residents, and we're going to hire LTE to perform that outreach. The original goal was for the UW Extension to hire the position and provide office space. When we really had, after getting awarded the we really ran into some obstacles, and it is not possible for UW Extension to hire this position. So we are requesting that the city be able to hire and post this LTE position, which will, I believe the position will be about 2 years long.
Any question? This time I entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second, moved by, Alderman, second by the chair. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item
Next item.
number 0229-25, communications sponsored by Alder Land on behalf of the Department of Parks, Recreation, Cultural Services, submitting bid results of official notice 1/2025 tree purchases. Staff recommendation that the contract for official notice 1/2025 tree purchases be awarded to the two lowest responsive bidders, Chestnut Ridge Nursery in the amount of $36,182 and Steigels Nursery in the amount of $64,526. Fiscal note funding is available in org objects 60484015711 land improvements for $100,708.
So this is part of our annual tree purchase. We purchase from these two nurseries each year. Well, they've been the two lowest bidders for the last 5 to 7 years. These trees will be planted in the spring and then in the fall. And that about sums it up.
Question.
Are you happy with how that's working?
Yeah, they've been good vendors and they've been easy to work with.
Excellent, thank you.
Any further discussion on the item? Entertain a motion. Second, all right. Moved by Alder Land, second by the vice chair. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item number 0230-25, communications sponsored by Alder Land on behalf of the Parks, Recreation, Cultural Services Department, submitting bid results of official notice 2/2025 tree purchases DNR IRA. Staff recommendation that the contract be awarded to the two lowest responsive bidders, Chestnut Ridge Nursery in the amount of $10,195 and Steigels Nursery in the amount of $11,846. Fiscal note funding is available in 60484015220050046 contracted services in the amount of $22,041.
So these tree purchases are separate from the one we previously talked about because these are grant funded by the same grant that the LTE is associated with, as well as the next agenda item actually talking about tree removals. So we're going to purchase these trees. Some of them will be distributed as part of that educational outreach to private residents for planting on private property. And the remainder will be planted in the fall to replace ash trees that we are going to have contractors remove.
Any questions? Alder Land.
Would they be for private properties on the parkway?
Private property to be planted in their yard. So the LTE position we previously talked about would perform some outreach into neighborhoods to educate about the benefits of trees. And those people who participate will get a free tree that they can plant on their property.
Any further discussion? Item. This time I will entertain your motion. There's no further discussion on that.
Move to approve.
Second. All right. Moved by Alder Land, second by Alder McCarthy. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Item number 0231-25, communications sponsored by Alder Land on behalf of the Parks Department, submitting bid results of official notice 4/2025 tree and stump removal DNR IRA. Staff recommendation that the contract be awarded to the two lowest responsive bidders, Bush Tree Expert LLC in the amount of $46,500 and Homer Tree Service in the amount of $32,780. Fiscal note funding is available in the following organ objects: 60484015220050046 contracted services in the expected amount of $79,280.
So again, this is associated with the grant we received. A component of that grant is to remove ash trees. This, I believe, includes about 115 ash trees to be removed. And then again, the previous agenda item would be to replace these trees. We're planting 2 trees for every 1 removed.
Any questions?
Second.
All right. Moved by Alder McCarthy, second by Alder Land. Okay. Okay. All right. Moved by Alder Land, second by Alder McCarthy. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think they have a PowerPoint presentation as well, so Pam will get that up. 0225-25, communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the Finance Director and City Attorney to approve and ratify the formation of, no, wrong item.
Nope.
Sorry, dumb. 0223-25, communication sponsored by Alder Kelly requesting permission to have a presentation by Racine Police Association regarding contract negotiation.
Hey, how you doing?
Which one we have to go into full session? Nope, not for this one. 0223-25, Pam, on the
Yes.
page
Good evening.
5.
Good evening.
With Chair's permission, I do have copies. If anyone is, has a challenge to eyesight like I do.
Thank you.
You don't have to. Here,
I need
if you
glasses
don't
to
want
find
to, But if you want to, you can share it.
That's actually.
Is it, it's right there. There you go. And then go to slideshow up at the top ribbon. There. And then from beginning. There we go.
Do they want to share?
All right, good, thank you.
Do you want to share to Zoom? But to Facebook?
Of course. Yeah. That'd be great, thank you.
Let's see how we do that. You want to give it to him?
It's important when. Is that fine?
Anybody, do you want the additionals back? Or-
Sure, I can, but I have some extras too, so they can.
No, down where it says application window, shouldn't it be right there in the blue, up, right there, right?
Yep.
You just tell me when you want me to flip.
Great, thank you. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Jim Palmer. I'm the Executive Director of the Wisconsin Professional Police Association. And I genuinely appreciate just a few minutes of your time to talk about, the whole contractual issue between the city of Racine and the Racine Police Association. I do have, obviously, as you can see, a presentation. I'm just going to, some slides I'll go through in more detail than others. But for those of you who aren't familiar with us, the WPPA is the state's largest law enforcement group. We represent over 11,000 members from over 300 local association affiliates statewide. And that includes, obviously, the Racine Police Association. We have been around since 1932, and we are a full-service labor organization. On the legal front, we have successfully overturned, I think it's important to point out, numerous decisions issued by the Wisconsin Employment Relations Commission just in the last few years. And I've cited some of the more recent ones. But thank you. I'm not going to make you commit all that to memory. As I said, my name is Jim Palmer. I am born and raised in Wisconsin. I am the executive director. I am also an attorney. Don't hold it against me. And with me tonight also is Mr. Roger Palick, who's our Director of Legal and Field Services. And he is actually the attorney that, the lead attorney, lead counsel on the case that is currently ongoing, that we're going to talk about in a little bit more detail. I have a lot of respect for everyone in between, of course, and there are a number of people such as Administrator Sullivan and City Attorney Scott Lemmy, with whom I have great respect. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't point out on a preparatory note, some issues that we have with regard to some of Mr. Sullivan's remarks at the last meeting of this committee on February 24th. Referencing recent public comments at Common Council meetings by union members or union representatives, Mr. Sullivan stated that in discussions around collective bargaining, we expect certain rules, and one of those is that we agree to bargain in good faith. We don't try labor negotiations in the public sphere or in the media. And I think it's important to point out that there is a state statute and case law that provides explicitly for a specific duty to bargain in good faith. And nowhere in any of those statutes or in any of those cases is there a prohibition or a restriction or an admonition on speaking on these issues in public. even if unintentional, the suggestion that anyone representing the union or any of its members have acted inappropriately is just without any basis. And this is an important term in the labor and employment law context, and I just wanted to point that out at this early stage. So where to start? We discussed last time in your meeting on the 24th some of the changes that were made in 2011 and 2013. Specifically, Wisconsin Act 32 in 2011 went into effect. It removed public safety employees' ability to bargain over health insurance plan design and the impact of plan design on employee compensation. In 2013, Wisconsin Act 20 was signed into law to make clear that public safety employees could not bargain over whether the employee or the employer pays deductibles owed under a health plan. So beginning in 2013, the relevant statute reads as follows, and it's there on the screen. I'm not going to make you read it. I know you went through it last time. You can advance to the next one. Despite the fact that the statute in 2013 was changed in the way it wasn't until 2021 when the city of Racine sought to file a petition for a declaratory ruling to remove the retiree health insurance from a provision from the collective bargaining agreement. And as you can see, in the interim, there were 4 contracts that were approved by both parties that included that retiree health insurance. So contrary to the assertion that was made at the last meeting that someone or the union is attempting to bootstrap retiree health insurance benefits into the contract, the point of this slide, hopefully, is that they have always been in the contract. As we all know, the city filed a petition for a declaratory ruling, and it was stressed numerous times in your last meeting that the city never argued that the WRC was not required to provide a health insurance plan to its public safety employees. In reality, the city did just that. In a brief filed with the WRC on July 2nd, 2021, stated that to accept the union's argument would presume the existence of a health plan in the first place. Such an argument is not supported by the plain language of the statute. Thank you. Obviously, the WRC issued its decision, and despite the fact that the case involved several disputed proposals related to health insurance, including retiree health insurance, in its decision, the WRC declared that the existence of health insurance is not a mandatory subject for bargaining. So therefore, all the other disputed proposals are also prohibited. Numerous times during the last meeting of this committee, the point was stressed that the WPPA only appealed the health insurance issue. That was the decision. That was the basis of everything. And then, so that was the only thing to appeal. As we know, the court issued its decision in October of 2023. The court declared that decision by the WRC that a municipal employer can determine not to offer any health insurance as incorrectly interpreting the statutes, violating bedrock principles of statutory interpretation and rendering an absurd result contrary to the statute's plain language. The court vacated the WRC's decision in its entirety and remanded it to the WRC for further proceedings applying the laws set forth in the decision. Interestingly, in a brief filed with the court on July 17th, 2023, before the circuit court issued its decision, the WRC actually laid out how it would decide the issue of the disputed proposals in the event the court reached the decision that it did. Quote, should the court reverse the WRC's decision, there is no duty to bargain over the existence of a health insurance plan and who will be covered by any such plan. Insurance for bargaining unit employees who retire during the term of a contract are mandatory subjects of bargaining as deferred compensation for their current employment. And they go on to cite a bunch of cases to see shortly that I won't go through in any great detail, so rest assured. I know you discussed this as well last time. 2023 Wisconsin Act 34 And you can see that the language in yellow that's underlined is the language that was added to the statute to 11174 MC6. According to the analysis of the Legislative Reference Bureau, the bill clarifies the purpose of the prohibition against bargaining over the design of a healthcare coverage plan selected by a municipal employer. The design does not include who is covered by the healthcare coverage plan. In other words, public safety employees may bargain with a municipal employer about who will be covered by a plan selected by the employer. Press release issued by Governor Evers when he signed Act 34 into law. Quote, the governor signed, that press release rather said that Act 34 would allow municipal public safety employees to bargain with a municipal employer about who will be covered by a health care plan by an employer, including retired public safety employees. This slide I'm going to breeze over because I know you discussed it at length on February 24th. This is essentially the tentative agreement for the 2021-24 collective bargaining agreement. This is the language that I believe currently appears in the employee handbook. I will highlight that it says in the yellow portion there that if the WRC ruling is amended or modified by virtue of litigation or legislation, the parties agree to be bound by the ultimate outcome of the legislation, and it gives the case name, party's name, and a specific circuit court case number, or any related future legislation that addresses the legal status of employee health insurance for active public employees. So obviously the question is, should the retiree health insurance language be included in the 2021-24 contract? The WRC's decision has been vacated in its entirety. The case has been remanded, as we just discussed, to the WRC for further proceedings. Currently, there is no ruling or order that said retiree health insurance language is a prohibited subject of bargaining. The circuit court case referenced in the tentative agreement, the case number there, is closed. If any of the parties have any problems with WRC decides going forward, they will have to file a new cause of action in either circuit court in Dane County or possibly even Racine County. The city's February 24th presentation to the committee even acknowledges the possibility of further appeals. And I think it's important. I skip a slide? No? Go back one, I think.
Sorry. Come on.
I think it's important, and I touched on this briefly, that the WRC actually said on July 17th, in a brief to the Dane County Circuit Court, how it would rule on the issue of retiree health insurance. It's a mandatory subject to bargaining, and it cited a long line of cases that stand for that proposition. So obviously the court issued the decision it did, and we're still having the same argument almost 2 years later. Now you can go back. Does Act 34 prohibit retiree health insurance? I know there was a great deal of time and attention spent on this during the last meeting on the 24th. It was repeatedly asserted that if the legislature wanted to include health insurance for retirees in Act 34, it would have done so. In support of the argument, an amendment was raised that would have added language to the statute specifically providing coverage upon an employee's death or disability. City Attorney Mr. Letney suggested that this amendment was not ultimately approved by the legislature. He went on to say elsewhere that the substitute amendment was voted down in committee. That is not correct, and that the legislature rejected that amendment. That is also not correct. As someone who was personally involved, not only in lobbying on behalf of that legislation, but in the drafting of it, I can tell you that it was decided that the language of the bill as originally proposed was deemed to be cleaner, easier to understand. And we felt it best accomplished the goal that we wanted, which was to clarify the law as it existed with regard to who can be covered by a health insurance plan. The author of that amendment withdrew it, and 2 legislative committees actually approved it unanimously. The goal of the legislation, as I just said, was always to clarify what everyone understood the state of the law to be. prior to the WRC's absurd decision that a municipal employer may unilaterally decide whether to offer health insurance at all. Even in the legislative intent statement of Act 34, it specifically provides that this act is to be considered a restatement of current law. That begs the question, what is the current law? The law has long recognized a distinction between employees that have already retired and those that will retire in the future. Unions cannot and do not bargain on behalf of retirees. And you look at the cases just very quickly, and this is just a handful of them. Unions may not bargain for employees that have already retired, but they may bargain for retirement benefits for current employees. The disputed language that currently appears in the employee handbook does just that. Retiree benefits are, in the next case, are deferred compensation for past services rendered. If employees trade off present wages for benefits upon retirement, they expect assurance that these benefits will continue into the future. The next case, a retirement program provides a reciprocal benefit to an employer in terms of employee retention. Second to last case, the Supreme Court has clearly stated that the future retirement benefits of current active employees are a mandatory subject of bargaining. And lastly, for the purpose of collective bargaining, current employees stand in the shoes of future retirees. During your last meeting and elsewhere, there has been a comment has been made repeatedly that the city has completely delivered on everything it agreed to in the tentative agreement. The tentative agreement, Act 34, and the long-established law on the issue of retiree health insurance all dictate that retiree health insurance belongs in the contract and not in the handbook. The city has said repeatedly has provided everything that it agreed to, and that the retiree health insurance language has been preserved by moving it into the employee handbook. And I think there was some discussion about this on this point at the end of the last meeting, but there's two problems with that assertion. And this was just briefly touched on. A party to a contract can use legal means to enforce that contract if we think the other party is violating. The same does not obviously apply to the employee handbook. The city can change that anytime it wants. And in looking at the agenda for this meeting, it is a little difficult to reconcile the city's nothing to see here because it's in the handbook attitude with the sky is falling predicted economic collapse that's highlighted for the first time in the agenda for this meeting. It's hard to square that. Because up until this point, all we've heard is, hey, we're doing it. No one's lost anything. Coming to the end here, where will this end? Until some lawful authority declares the retiree health insurance language prohibited subject to bargaining, it ought to be returned to the contract. This would enable the parties to begin negotiating the next contract, which I think I can tell you the RPA wants that. I would think that the city would want it as well. If the city wishes to modify or reduce its financial exposure with regard to retiree health insurance, the RPA is actually open. But the shortest distance between those 2 points is to negotiate that with the union, as opposed to refusing to maintain the retiree health insurance language while also pursuing even more litigation at the expense of further impairing the labor relations in the city and using limited resources and tax dollars that could be spent on any number of other important local needs. One thing that Mr. Sullivan spoke about at length in the last committee meeting I want to commend him for because we agree wholeheartedly is that this committee has the authority to direct the city's labor relations efforts. And we respectfully urge you to come in and step in and exercise this authority by directing the administration to maintain the retiree health insurance language in the contract. It doesn't mean that the litigation goes away. The results of doing so would hopefully allow the city and the RPA to hit the reset button on its relationship, and it will enable them to both work together to strike a balance between the public safety needs of the community and the financial challenges. That collaboration can only occur at the bargaining table, but the city's current position to date has deprived everyone of that happy to answer any questions, but I genuinely appreciate your attention. Hopefully I didn't see anyone not off, but it was a good sign. Because it is kind of warm. I tried.
Thank you. Any?
That's just a presentation. We have further item in closed session later to discuss possible actions. I move to receive and file the presentation.
Second that.
All right, been moved by Alderman McCarthy, second by Vice Chair. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
You want to go back to the top?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, item number 0217-25, communications software, Elder Pro, requesting creation of an ordinance that provides the administrative appeal procedures under the rents registration ordinance. Staff recommendation in this case is to defer for this meeting to possibly be on the agenda for the next.
Second. Moved by Alderman McCarthy, second by the chair. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 0233-25, communications funds for Elder Cole, requesting creation of an ordinance that governs the certification of debt from unpaid parking citations and provides standards with administrative procedures by which to appeal the certification of debt and or to contest the parking citation. Again, staff recommendation is to defer. Second.
All right. It is moved by Alderman McCarthy, second by the vice chair. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item number 0235-25, communications funds for Elder Gordon on behalf of the finance director, requesting review and approval of the city's investment policy and public depositories. Again, due to time constraints, the staff recommendation in place would be to defer to the next meeting.
All right, moved by Alderman, second by Alderman McCarthy. The first item, all signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 0236-25, communications funds for Elder Gordon on behalf of the finance director, requesting permission to submit the presentation of unaudited fourth quarter of 2024 fiscal results and investment summaries. Again, due to time constraints, the staff recommendation is to defer. Move to defer. Second.
Moved by the chair, second by Alderman, all in favor. Vice chair, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Now we're moving to page 3 towards the bottom, 0225-25, communications sponsored by Mayor Mason. On behalf of the finance director and city attorney to approve and ratify the formation of the Lincoln King Community Center and Clinic Quality B Incorporated for the purposes of new market tax credit transactions associated with the construction of the Lincoln King Community Center and Clinic project, and to allow the mayor, city clerk, finance director, and other staff to execute all necessary documents associated with the project. Staff recommendation is to approve and ratify the formation of the Quality B. Fiscal note costs associated with this are included in the project budget. Attorney Letney is here to speak on the item. And I do have a PowerPoint that was attached as well. That's a handout. Yes.
Kathleen will be able to handle it. But a Quality B is a qualified, active, low-income community business. All of these are related to the NMTCs, new market tax credits. A lot of the financing for the Lincoln King Community Center and Clinic is going to be coming from CDEs, Community Development Entities. Thank you. There's a lot of acronyms here. These are investors that invest in new market tax credit projects. And the law requires that a nonprofit, this qualified, low-income community business, be the entity that receives the new market tax credit dollars. So in order to make sure that the product can go, or the project can go forward, this entity, the Lincoln King Community Center and Clinic ought to be incorporated, formed as a wholly owned entity of the city. So it is a corporation owned by the city of Racine. The city of Racine is the parent entity. So because of time issues and I will say the CDEs are anxious a lot of the time. We went ahead and formed this corporation on behalf of the city, and we're looking for your ratification and approval. This allows the project to move forward because it allows the project to accept these dollars.
I'll just chime in a little. I do have a printout for you, although I cut off really badly, so I apologize that happened. But basically what the handout kind of shows you is what the quality is in sort of a picture way, as simple as I could possibly make it. But if you go kind of on that second page, you'll see that this quality is basically going to own the land and the building. And City of Racine has already done part of their part, and they have given some things to that quality, the land, right? And then the investors invest in this quality. And then what will happen is the quality will do a master lease to the City of Racine. Okay, so they will lease the entire building and the land to the City of Racine. And then the City of Racine will sublease to Pillar Health for the clinic piece of the building. All of these things I'm talking about, master lease, sublease, investments, all of these things, those are the documents we're talking about that we would be executing on behalf of this quality, okay? So if we kind of move on a little bit in the PowerPoint, it's better on the attached document that I attached to the legislative item, but I apologize. The qualities in general, again, like Scott said, they're nonprofit organizations. It would be considered a component unit, is the accounting term, a component unit of the City of Racine, which is similar to our downtown bid district, is a component unit of the City of Racine. The CDA is a component unit of the City of Racine. So those types of organizations, but in general, libraries, healthcare facilities, some grocery stores, some hotels, all are types of things that are called these. As I said on here, it'll be a component unit of the City of Racine. It's a nonprofit organization. The organization itself is made up of 3 board members. That is what is requested by the investors. Those board members, one of which is myself as a finance director, they always want a finance person. They want a person from the community. So there is actually a lawyer from our community. Her name is Megan Villapando. Did I say that last name correctly? So she will be the 3rd board member, and Crystal Moore is the 2nd board member. Again, they like to have finance people in particular, but also city residents. The quality itself will exist for 7 years. It has to, for tax purposes. After that 7-year period is over, the quality will be disbanded, and the property, land, buildings, and everything else will come back to City of Racine proper and become part of City of Racine proper. So that'll be after that 7-year investment period. And then at the end of the document, I put just some glossary of some of the different terms associated with tax credit financing and that type of thing. Lots of acronyms, CDEs, CDIs, qualities, all these things, just to help you get a little better understanding of what they are. So like I said tonight, really what we're asking for is, the ability to execute these contracts on behalf of both the City of Racine as well as the quality.
Any questions?
The board membership.
Mhm.
Says on here, confirmed by accredited investor.
Correct.
This is something that's coming, well, it's a component unit of the City of Racine.
Correct.
I know nothing about the 3rd person. So we in essence approving this board structure at this point?
Yes,
And kind of resume about the third person?
I certainly can send it to you, yes. Mhm.
Any other?
Maybe offer some, a little bit of information on her. People like to hear it. So she is an attorney, who does corporate finance at Hutch Blackmore Law Firm. She is a local city resident, and this makes her particularly qualified, but she's also the daughter of a retired, firefighter, Mark Villapando, which is a name that might be familiar to some of you. So she is in the community, she is of the community. She has particular legal and financial expertise to play in the space. And so she seems like a good person to bring into that opportunity.
Discussion. All right, Courtney.
Yes, with it being a board, will you also have bylaws?
Yep. We absolutely do have bylaws already drafted in draft form. So again, a lot of this is kind of run by the New Market investors. This is what they do. So we have a New Markets attorney that is helping us through all of these things. So yes, indeed, we do indeed have bylaws. We have what else do we have? We have bylaws, articles of incorporation. Sorry, I'm not very smart. So we definitely have all of those things, and again, happy to share.
Thank you.
Any other vice chair in the back?
I have a question. So, so then after just talking through it, so then after the 7 years, is that still then a 501c3, or then because the city owns it, then it doesn't?
So after that 7-year period of time, the 501c3 in terms of this qualic fee in particular would be disbanded completely. It would become part of our government, City of Racine. So it would no longer be a nonprofit, it would be a government entity.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
So after those 7 years, when it's not 501c3 status, do you anticipate, obviously not being a 501c3, having further grant issues or things of that nature because it's not a nonprofit?
It's a very good question, and we have talked through that quite a bit. We could so choose to keep it a nonprofit. I would not recommend that because there's a lot of hoops you have to go through with a qualic fee nonprofit. However, we could still access donations and funding through our Friends of Park and Recreation, which is what I would intend to do long.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this item? Right? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I'm gonna do it for.
Second. Okay. Right. We have a motion by the vice chair, second by Alderman McCarthy. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Okay, item 0224-25 communications sponsoring memories on behalf of City Development Department requesting permission to apply for a WEDC CDI grant control number 00617 for the Legion building at Bell City Square, 1907 St. Patrick's. Staff recommendation actually from City Development on this one was to receive and file. So they won't be applying this year. There aren't funds available for this project.
Move to receive and file.
Second. All right. We have a motion by Alderman Land, second by the chair. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason 0250-25. Communication sponsored by Mayor Mason and Alder Coe on behalf of the Director of City Development, requesting permission to enter into a development incentive agreement with Dominion 12 LLC, Dominion 14 LLC, and AOA Racine LLC for the Dominion Downtown Phase 2 project. Staff recommendation that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to enter into a development incentive agreement and execute all necessary documents with Dominion 12 LLC, Dominion 14 LLC, and AOA Racine LLC for the Dominion Downtown Phase 2 project. Fiscal note. The $9.7 million loan to developer will come from the following sources. $5.7 million will be transferred from TF9. Cash is available for this transfer. $4 million will come from a city borrowing from the Board of Commissioner of Public Lands as authorized by the Common Council. Walter Williams, Director of City Development, is here to kind of kick off, and then the folks from Dominion will have a presentation for the committee.
Good evening. The development incentive agreement before you with Dominion 12 LLC and Dominion 14 LLC for the Dominion Phase 2 in front of you this evening represent a culmination of a lot of moving parts and priorities. First, I would like to acknowledge city staff and in particular Finance Director Fisher to develop an agreement that, one, protects city assets, solidifies and ensures the long-term success and viability of Hotel Verdant, and the creation of an agreement that will be the impetus for downtown transformation and growth. Second, the agreement represents the enthusiasm and commitment that Dominion owners have towards our community. They believe that their success is tied to the city's success. Godfrey from Dominion is here to answer any questions and provide a presentation.
Why is it? I think it's from the screen. Your mouse isn't working again. You gotta turn it on and off. If it goes to sleep.
That's fine. I'm good at seeing it.
Yeah, you can share that.
You can keep it on the first page.
Okay, perfect.
So first of all, members of the committee, members, thank you guys so much for giving us the opportunity to talk today. We have been working closely over the past couple months with John A. And Kathleen. We think we've come up with a pretty good idea for what could really help spur a lot of activity downtown. So my name is Michael Godfrey. I am one of the owners. I go by Godfrey. I am one of the owners of Dominion. We have been, well, one of the owners of Dominion and therefore owners of the hotel. The hotel has been open for about a year and a half now, which has given me a great opportunity to really get involved in the downtown community, see what the ideas, what the strengths are, and what some of the challenges we face. So being down here, I am lucky enough to be a board member of the DRC, on the Community Engagement Committee, members of Brain Maps. It's been a lot of folks I can talk to and pull from to see what kind of struggles that Dominion can help ease in the downtown community. So while we did have an extensive market research and feasibilities done for these projects, it's really important for me to get out into the community and talk to folks and see what people in the scene think that the downtown needs. And there are a couple of key themes that kept coming up for downtown. I'm sure you guys have heard them as well. Safety was a big concern. The walkability of downtown, adding more draws to the downtown, and as well as parking. Everybody loves to talk about parking. So hopefully we can help with that. So if you want to go ahead and move to the next slide. So I'm going to keep coming back to these themes throughout my presentation, so that we can figure out how these properties can help push that agenda forward. So right here on the map, you can see that Hotel Verdant is right in between these other parcels of land that we own. So when I talk about phase 2, it's really 4 projects that we are looking at doing. We've got 401 Wisconsin, which is the big lot right there. We've got 222, which is the small square next to that lot. We've got 512 Main Street, which is on the other side of the hotel. And then finally, we've got 426 Wisconsin. So that is going to be, those are our parcels that we're really looking to kind of help push things forward. I'll get into them more as we kind of move along. I'll try and be as brief as possible. I know we've all had a long night already. If there are any questions, feel free to jump in and holler. So if you want to go ahead and move on to the next slide. This one is our high level budget. So this is a $9.7 million project with the 4 components comprised. And this just gives you a overhead look at some of the costs and how we came up for that. So if you want to go to the next one, 401 Wisconsin is the first project that I wanted to talk about. This one was a really hard one for Dominion as a whole. So we have a lot of awards for historic renovation. That is one of the things that we do is we bring back old buildings. It's what we really wanted to do with this parcel. But unfortunately, when we were able to get control of it, there had been extensive deterioration. There were some environmental factors that went into it, and then also some kind of spatial constraints from the historic aspect because it was built as a YMCA. It was just too limiting to be able to kind of breathe new life into this building. So with the idea of safety in mind, it made the most sense to propose to tear that building down, open up that entire lot, have a nice line of sight for everyone, really get it lit. Go to move to the next slide. So you can kind of see where the building is right now and kind of the lot that is right next to it. It's in pretty rough shape. What we want to do is get everything cleaned out of there. We get lots of landscaping. Go to the next one. Lots of green space to beautify the area. We will have a ton of lighting up there. We did have a lighting engineer that is going to be gated all the way around with gates to access the lot. So really kind of elevating this particular lot as a lot that people feel comfortable parking in when they are coming downtown. So if you go to the next slide, this kind of shows where the lights are, proposed lights, and then one more brings us into 222. So 222 Fifth Street, this is one that's easier to talk about because this is historic renovation. This is one that was a little bit easier to do. When we got our hands on this one, it was in pretty bad shape as well. We were lucky enough to be able to turn the corner with it. So if you go to the next slide, this is what it looks like. It's very common downtown building. You have that traditional storefront where everybody really brings the community in with a couple of apartments upstairs. So this is the proposal for what we would like to do to it. We've actually started already just a little bit to get the windows in there, bring the light in, show the community that they can come into that space. We are lucky enough where we do have a signed lease with an occupational therapist that is going to be using the space for therapy sessions in which she uses art and nature, and was really excited to find a downtown location. So when community members are walking by, they should be able to see art studio in that space given life during the daytime hours. So go to, so now we can see what we've started to do already just to get this project started, because it's time for getting into the season where we want to keep moving forward. So if we go to the next one, and then one more. So this would be the new layout for the upstairs apartments. For some reason, they combined the entire floor into one huge apartment. That has not really been beneficial for everyone. They removed bathrooms, so we really want to put this building back how it was designed with some kind of a little bit more modern amenities. These are going to be market rate apartments with the whole idea that we will get them nice and full, really activate this building as opposed to having it be an empty building. It is going to be something that has life and activity to keep an eye on the neighborhood and draw to and from Main Street. Next, we get to talk about the spa. This is one thing that I am really excited about because I think that this is going to be something that not many people have seen in this area in Milwaukee. It's going to be comparable to things in Chicago. So we're working with a fantastic team. Arch Amenities Group, they are who we have hired on. They did the feasibility and the market study for us for the spa, and they are going to be our operators. It's very important for us to bring them on right away so they can understand the full scope of the project and make sure it is successful from start to finish. We're also using Kubala as an architect in the Geddes Group for interior design. We're two members of my team for the hotel, so it's going to have a real cohesive feel, cohesive look to the hotel while still being separate and having a little bit separate of an identity. So if we go to the next one, Arch Amenities was able to give us this world-class spa design to fit into the kind of narrow space space of 512 right here on Monument Square. You can see there's lots of different elements that we'll get into in some of the pictures as we move through, but this is the general idea of the spa with the different elements. So if we go to the next slide, this is a building with nice tall ceilings. So right now we are exploring putting a mezzanine level in there so you can overlook onto common space as well as the pools. So it's going to be a really dynamite place to hang out. So I said that I did want it to have a cohesive feel with the hotel. There is going to be an interior connection to the hotel that will flow through directly to the spa. And then there will also be additional treatment rooms in the hotel that the spa will be utilizing. So it's going to have a very cohesive feel, relying a lot on the themes that we did when we created the Hotel Bird. Go to the next part. This is one of my favorite design elements of the spa, and it has nothing to do with the spa, honestly. It is our reception area. So it's really important for me, again, to interact with people on the street in Racine. I don't want this to be, although it will be something that attracts out-of-town guests, I don't want it to be just for out-of-town guests. So not only are we going to have a membership program for folks that are in town, we are also going to turn our waiting and reception area into almost a little apothecary, a little shop, a boutique shop that folks can come in off of the square to buy goods, hopefully encouraging them to move down the street to other stores, stop in for lunches, and continue that foot traffic downtown. You go to the next one. So we are using Getty's Group for the interior design. Nice big locker rooms. We are going to have multiple pools, cold plunge, whirlpools. Go to the next one. Multiple saunas, Himalayan saunas, steam rooms, sensory saunas, things that I'm told everybody really likes. They sound like great ideas to me. And we are also going to have a rain walk, which is kind of a fun concept. We are going to have showers in the locker rooms, don't worry, but there will be an experiential showers out near the pools to phase off, rinse off after saunas, things like that. It'll be fun. Lots of places to relax, really drawing from the feel of the hotel, kind of that common area with a fireplace in the middle, so that everybody can be as relaxed as possible. And of course, treatment rooms for your facials and pedicures and things of that nature. So moving on from there, we go to 426 Wisconsin. This is what is going to be next. So with all of the momentum we are seeing downtown and helping to drum up from downtown, we want to add a 4-story, 40-unit building on 426 Wisconsin. All of our developments that we do are LEED certified, and this could be no different. While it is going to be close to the lake, it is going to pull from be overlooking the river to help see that feature of Racine as well. You'll notice the building is curved to kind of emulate that, but we really want this section here to help increase density, to pull people from Main Street back to their homes, really opening everything up. So it's really our hope that activating these sites will continue the momentum that downtown has. If you go to the last slide, this is what we're kind of envisioning for the area. So we have future projects planned. We are hoping to put more density down there. It is had a great partnership with Racine so far. Very much looking forward to more. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take any at this time.
Any questions? Question.
Shoot.
Okay, I got another. So, I kind of just wanted to start with 512 Main. So it looks like that part, so as stated, that part of the project is $4,288,000. What would your expected ROI, like how long do you think you would actually get a return on the investment to be in the black in that space?
Sure. So the projections that we are seeing from Arch Amenities Group shows that we would start turning a profit next year. We would start showing, not turning a profit, but moving, having gross operating income, not necessarily covering any additional debt service that we would have. So we are seeing it trend in the right direction. We want to keep prices low so that everybody can be there, but it will be something that.
And then, that group that you had said had done this study, I apologize, I missed the name. Are they local or how are they?
They're not, they are nationwide, so
Okay.
they run spas all over the country.
Mhm.
It's what they do. It's very similar to how the hotel is run. We have a management company there as well. We're very involved, sitting on lots of meetings, but they provide the expertise.
And as you said, you know, they're gonna guarantee the success. What have they suggested that they're like, this is gonna work, this is how it's gonna happen?
Sure. So when we first started looking at this project, this space used to be a hair salon. It was, from our understanding, is a successful hair salon. There was a large conversation about having some treatment rooms out back. We explored a handful of options with having a lot of treatment rooms, just treatment rooms, as well as a salon in front. With their expertise and their different models that we did, knowing how many salons there are in downtown Racine, it really made more sense to go more towards this subscription model, making this more a community spa to where you can go in, you can relax, you can sit in the pools, you can walk the saunas, personally still buy treatments, but not be as so treatment heavy. So really shifting that business model can shift success in this particular area.
And then you had mentioned that there would be a membership, like there would be a membership for that, and then in addition to that being accessible for hotel guests.
Correct. So you'd be able to get a day pass, you'd be able to have a monthly pass, you'd be able to add on different treatments and things of that nature. Yep.
As someone who has spent maybe more than 200 hours in that building, some of my concerns that I have is really size. I mean, I've been looking at your model. There's a lot that looks like that's going to be going in there. So I guess, you know, as you know, we know construction goes and things of that nature, and they're, you know, obviously they're consultants for you. Do you see any, foresee any complications as far as with that build out, with the size of the building?
The complications that I see honestly have to do with the mezzanine. We're exploring how high we can go. It looks like there are some metal beams in there that we're going to have to work around.
Right.
Other than that, because not only do we have Arch Amenities Group has done that initial layout working with Kubala to really dial in the room sizes, make sure things feel right, function right, are up to code. So I think with the team that we have built, we shouldn't see any issues.
Another question, now I'm looking at 426 and 222. With your group, with the experience, I know that, you know, you want to run a successful hotel. Does your group have the experience in the background with running property management in addition to?
Yeah, I apologize. So that is our main business.
Okay.
So we are in Milwaukee. We have about 15 buildings on the east side of Milwaukee. It's all downtown. And that's really where we got our start. 2013, we did our first ground up development. We've been doing little bits of development. So everything that we manage, we own. So we have a stake in everything that we take care of personally. My team is very good at managing property. That's why I can be down here as much as I am.
May I ask you, just, I know you said you have 15 months, could you just name a couple off the top?
Sure. 2030 North, oh geez, the first one, we sold that one 6 months ago. 2025 North 1671 North Oakland.
Okay.
1825 North Prospect.
Okay.
So I can.
In large scale. I'm from
Yeah.
the area, so that's why.
Oh,
yeah,
sure.
original. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, Brady Street, Oakland, Prospect, all east side.
Okay.
So we have one building two buildings north of North Avenue, but everything else is south.
And then another follow-up. So based on where those are located, dealing with the challenges that area has and Racine has as well with the population and the demographic, that's something that you have some familiarity with. And
yeah, we work with a great screening company that helps us remain fair across the board, but then also know what our risks are when we go into a relationship with it.
And another quick question, I don't know if you can answer it. When we're looking at the vacancies that we have in some of our apartment buildings now, when we're looking at 233 Breakwater, Bell City, I would imagine that these projects would probably be in the same market rate price point.
Yeah, so I would say that 426 Wisconsin would definitely be closer to that. We have our budgeted rents just a little bit lower than that. For 222, I like to call that Class B. So it's kind of a step down from new construction. It kind of allows for more diversity in the portfolio and also allows for tenants to kind of work their way around the portfolio. So I always like to have a little smattering of different places.
Perfect, thank you. Includes my questions.
Okay, thank you. McCarthy.
More financial questions that over here, so probably more her direction, but please feel free to chime in as required then. So $9.7 million loans, 5.7 from DID9, 4 million from borrowing from the Board of Land Commissioners, Commissioners of Public Land here. But I read in the summary here that if the developer decides to proceed with the additional 40 unit construction at that point, we are forgiving the 9.7 million.
That is correct.
So we're potentially in the future. They're trying to use the plain term, handing them $9.7 million to build for a 40 unit building. That's how I'm hearing this. So tell me why I have that wrong.
Well, no, not necessarily. I mean, they're building a spa, they're building 222, and they're building 426, so not necessarily.
Which if they don't build, they'll just pay it back.
Exactly. If they don't build, they would pay us back the 9.7 million over a term of 20 years or whatever it is that we have on here. At a little bit higher interest rate as well. So it's gonna start off at a lower interest rate if they don't build the building and we're gonna bump up the interest rate. But yes, that was part of it, is that that loan would be forgivable at that point in time. And then the TIF increment that is generated from the new building would be the city of Racine's to keep. So there's no pay go on the TIF increment associated with that building. Well, generally in something like this, it would be a pay go TIF.
Okay.
In this case, we're doing the loan up front instead of a pay go TIF.
You still haven't so far kind of read my crass wording that we're basically handing $9.7 million to build the 40 unit apartment building. If we're forgiving a loan for $9.7 million for them to build this building, tell me, differentiate that for me from that being a $9.7 million grant.
I mean, they're definitely paying interest to us over the life of the 5 years and all of those things. But yes, we are saying at the end of it, if you build this building and do what you say, we will forgive this. And keep it in mind that we're not borrowing
5.7 million from the TID and 4 million we are borrowing.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Just want to be sure we're on the same page for where we're going. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
So as this presumably will go to council for discussion as well, with the way that this is worked out, is this kind of an all or one, or can it be parceled out as far as?
Oh, in terms of the pieces of the
Yeah.
project? I would probably throw that to Godfrey. It has always been imagined as all three pieces together. Most importantly, that the 426 building piece of it has to happen for any of this to work.
Yeah. Any further discussion? All right. This time. Any motion? To approve.
Second.
All right, moved by Alder McCarthy, second by Alder Land, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Oh, motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have item 252.
Yeah, we can put that
If
in.
you're going to do that next, just do it, we start that and go.
Yes, yeah.
I just didn't. Yes, sorry. Ready for next?
Yes.
Okay. 0252-25 communication sponsored by Mayor Mason on behalf of the Human Resources Department requesting permission to apply for a workforce development task force grant at the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development in relation to public safety cadet and youth employment programs. Staff recommendation that the HR department be granted permission to apply. Fiscal note: required cash or in-kind match is 50% of the amount of the grant award. Control number 00628. HR Fire Department 202-510-18 grant, control number 00629 HR CDL, so two different types of programs, 174948. Director Horton is here to speak on the item with Ms. Buford as well.
Okay, so this is a workforce development grant that Keisha has been working on. We have partnered with the fire department as well as it will create a new CDL program for the city as a whole. Basically, it's a 50% match. What we've done is the fire cadets with the fire department will use their training that they currently have. You can correct me if there's anything added, but the current training program that they have would be covered under the grant is awarded. And then the CDL program would benefit water, wastewater, BPW, and park. And that's what we have, as you guys know, some of the hardest challenges filling the CDL position.
I just want to add that we want to utilize the grant to really enhance our programs on the fire cadet side. A lot of the youth is really need help to obtain the firefighter certs to even, make it to the next step. So we hope the grant will be able to not only help with their EMT, their fire one, but allow for tutoring. We have half of our fire cadets who have failed, tests, help with the physical exam, which a lot of them have all their certs, but they can't pass that physical exam. So we want to help them make it to the next step and hopefully, are working for the Racine Fire Department. And on the CDL side, it's a brand new program in itself. Because of this grant, we realized that a lot of departments, you need the CDL, at least the permit to be able to make it to, to advance to other careers. So we figure we can bridge some gaps. This would be great for the community overall and to fill full-time roles with the city.
Any questions?
Financially again here, so the grants we are requesting are the 202,000 and 174,000.
Yes, I do have to make some changes. So we've been working on this daily. So even by the time we submitted the ABM, we've been in contact with the DWP. They've been assisting as well, which has been great. Good sign, hopefully. But so for the fire, on the fire side, we are going to change the wages to 175,365. Come on now, 44 and then on the CDL side, 222,000. So I can email or we can update.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Same one because I hate sense.
But yes, we're gonna
That's the lady that reads every character.
Hey, I'm
Right.
really shortening tonight.
Yes, I tried to be like that, but yes, 175,000 from the fire side and 222 for the CDL.
Okay.
So require the 50% match, either
Yes.
monetary or in kind. How do we anticipate fulfilling that?
The wages count. So as a fire cadet, they are paid about $18 and some change. While they're, at fire cadet, they're going on calls with the fire department and whatnot. They're, side by side and right along with them. And then as a CDL, we plan to pull from some of our underemployed groups, such as our interns or our seasonal laborers or our long-term seasonal or those type of roles. So they're already on the job being paid for a City of Racine role, and we're hoping to elevate their experience and their the workforce to be able to fill the CDO type of position. So that will be our match.
So the pay of the people participating in that will kind of match.
Correct. And any staff as well.
Good answer.
Any other questions? I just have a comment. I think this would be a great, if we are able to get the grants. Usually these fast forward grants, we've had them in the past with city, county. We hired a lot of people got their CDL, got hired at major companies, a lot of manufacturing, CNC machine operators. So I think that, hoping that we get the grant, that I think it would benefit the city.
Oh, great. I didn't know that he was doing
Yeah. Any further questions? Any discussion? Mr. Mackey stated.
Sounds like a friendly amendment saying that the request should be applied to up to 400,000, just to make it simpler. We don't have to get the exact.
Well, it's two different grants, so we have to make it clear that it is two different grants. We're just looking at the application right now. So we're just looking at two different grants. What it looks like is one is 222,540. This is the
Yes.
most recent I got from Susan.
Yes.
And then the other one is 175 and some change. So if we said up to 225 and up to 176 for the grant round, is everyone okay with that?
So move it.
Okay.
Move by Alderman McCarthy, second by Alderman Land. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, where are we at? 0221-25, Attorney's Office now. Communications sponsored by Alderman Hurd on behalf of City Attorney's Office, submitting the claim of Samuel Dom for consideration for disallowance. Staff recommendation that the claim be disallowed. Deputy City Attorney Rubin.
Samuel Doms filed a claim with the city requesting $4,135 for damages allegedly arising from a tree that blew down and damaged the power lines attached to his property at 1121 East Avenue on August 6, 2024. The city maintains that the tree in question was growing on private property and was the responsibility of the property owner to maintain. Therefore, the city denies liability for the damages claimed and recommends disallowance for this claim.
Can be disallowed.
Okay.
All right, moved by Alderman McCarthy, second by Alderman Land. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Item number 0222-25, communications sponsored by Alderman Hurd on behalf of the City Attorney's Office, submitting a claim of Maxwell Maltus and Shelley Maltus for consideration for disallowance. Staff recommendation that the claim be disallowed.
Thank you. Maxwell and Shelley Malcolmus filed a claim with the city requesting $3,720 for damages allegedly arising from a light post being installed in the parkway in front of 1709 Linton Avenue, directly over a sewer pipe on October 8th, 2024. This allegedly caused damages to the sewer pipe that required repairs. The contracted company installed the light post as opposed to city employees. Therefore, the city has sent the claimants the contractor's name and contact info so they can file their claim with the contractor. The city disputes its own liability for the claim damages, the amount thereof. Therefore, the city is requesting disallowance.
Move to disallow.
All right, we moved by Vice Chair, second by Alderman Land. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. So now we have two items under closed session.
One more.
I didn't vote. I just-
You're right.
Yeah. I think we're good. Closed session?
Yeah.
All right. It's intended that the Finance and Personnel Committee will convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985(1)G to discuss strategy for litigation in which the city or scene is or is likely to be involved, and pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985(1)E to address matters that for competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. We would need a motion and a second to go into closed session.
All right, we move by Alderman McCarthy, second by Alderman Land. All in favor signify.
Roll call.
Roll call. Sorry.
Alder Horton.
Aye.
Alder Sebastian.
Aye.
Alder Davis.
Aye.
Alder Land.
Aye.
Alder McCarthy.
Aye.
That completes roll call to go into closed session.
Oh, sorry, I'm
Staff not in the attorney's office, that means you.
Closed session.